Hello, welcome to Future Perfect. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world watching us from. Welcome to Future Perfect. It's a roundtable discussion that's focused on the choices that women can be making in their 40s and 50s to ensure that we have the best possible future in later life. My name's Annabelle Beckwith. I'm a business consultant, coach and trainer, and I am joined by some wonderful experts from both sides of the Atlantic who are going to share their experience and their expertise with us. I feel it only fair to say now that not all of the ladies on the panel are in that 40-50 bracket just yet. Some of us are, but some of us aren't. However, they bring expertise and advice to the table. So without further ado, ladies, I'm just going to ask you to introduce yourselves, say who you are, where you are, and what you do very briefly. So Heather, may I start with you first, just if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, my name's Heather Stokes. I am from Florida over here on the US side, and I am a financial services business manager, owner. I'm a multipreneur. I'm a mom, an author, a speaker. I have lots of different hats I wear, but my main focus is to help women and families understand how to have a brighter financial future, how to build generational wealth, and how to overall build their legacy together as a family.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Heather. Shelley, Dr. Shelley Nash, tell us about you.
Yes, it's great to be here with other women, like-minded women. I am a women's empowerment coach. My focus is confidence, self-image, and style from within. And I help women really express their authentic style and connect that with their goals, where they're going, and step into their feminine power. My doctor, in case everybody's always wondering, comes from being a chiropractor and a holistic practitioner. But I like to say I take a holistic approach to style from within. Style, yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks, Shelley. And that whole idea about personal presentation and so forth as we get older is just so important. Jana, may I come to you next, please?
Well, hello, ladies. My name is Jana Janeva. I am based in Edinburgh at the moment, and I'm a psychologist and people and talent specialist. And really my goal is to take out the ancient knowledge from that dusty environment or academic environment and make it available for everyone, and use the ancient knowledge into modern wisdom so women and individuals can really improve their quality of life in any shape or form.
Thank you, Jana. As a psychologist, Jana will have some interesting things to say about what's happening in our heads as we get older, basically. So now, Dr. Ola Abbas, over to you.
Hi, Annabelle. Thank you very much for having me onto this roundtable tonight. I'm Ola. I'm a healthcare consultant. So I'm a doctor in intensive care and acute medicine. I practice, up until recently, I was practicing. I still haven't got out of the habit of saying I have shifted my focus now to being a business consultant. I am based in Manchester, UK, and this is where I predominantly work. I have a little hand now in healthcare, but I have a very big hand in business, helping medics, doctors predominantly, find their wealth and well-being through travel.
Well, there's an interesting combination there. Julianne, let me come to you next.
Well, hello, good morning. I am in California. My name is Julianne Williams. I am a healthcare consultant and an author and speaker. I also am a mom of two beautiful young adults. My mission is to help people build a lifetime of resilience. Even after you've experienced very hard things, there is a way to build a life that you will love.
Thank you so much. And Hannah.
Hello, good morning. My name is Hannah Olivas. I am with She Rises Studios. I do public relations and marketing for She Rises, and I write a lot of books.
How many, what is the total so far from She Rises? 14, 15 books so far?
I believe today made our 15th published book in less than 3 years.
So there we go, a powerhouse. And Hannah, well, all of you ladies, some really interesting things to say and some really important perspectives on career and on entrepreneurship and how, age is no limit to this. And I'm going to sort of kick off the conversation, Jana, by asking you in just a moment. But what I wanted to just make sure at this particular outset is that whilst the overall 10A of the conversation is about choices in our 40s and 50s and looking forward to our future and later life, we're not all going out to pasture here. We are not talking about sort of slowly, walking off into the sunset. This is absolutely about making the best of ourselves, making the best of our lives as we continue forward, and embracing all of the opportunities that actually present themselves to women in their 40s and 50s as well. So that's kind of the theme of the session. But Jana, let's just sort of start off the conversation here by focusing on the psychological side. What kind of things are happening as we get older in terms of mindset, in terms of psychological development?
Well, Annabelle, when we're talking about psychological aging, there is really only one name that can come to mind, and that's Erik Erikson. And he is a German psychologist born in the early 1900s. And what he did is he created 8 psychosocial development stages by observing and analyzing behavior. So I'm not going to go through all of them, obviously. But it's quite interesting because if we compare, for example, young adulthood, which is from 18 to 35 years of age, what he observed that's happening is basically a clash between intimacy versus isolation. And I'm pretty sure that every one of us can relate back to those years, when you were 20, 25, 20 something, and it's kind of an internal battle to find yourself, find who you are, what's your purpose, what's your next move, what's your next step, but with kind of the feeling of the power of that fire inside you. You're curious constantly, you're energized about everything, your social connections are expanding, so it's that entire force basically. And what Erik Erikson says is that you need to have a healthy resolution of those two clashes, so the intimacy versus isolation, in order to move properly and healthier into the next stage, which is basically the middle adulthood. And that's the age from 35 to 65. And what he talks about there is generativity versus stagnation. And so basically, it's the case where you're looking to really make an impact. You're looking to find the right social connection for you. You're looking for the right job that will inspire you. You're looking for leaving a legacy. You're living at all the things that will make your mark in the world, rather than being selfish in the early adulthood and discovering yourself. It's more the case of giving more, supporting more, giving back to the society, doing, freelancing work, doing voluntary work, and so on. And it's quite interesting that once the individual understands that, first of all, that's quite normal to move from one clash to the next clash, and it's just the stages of aging that it's providing you with different opportunities to actually evolve and grow and discover even more. It's pretty much the opposite what we do as an individuals in real life, because we stop learning at a specific age. And from neuroscientific point of view, if you make a scanner of a 20 years old brain and a 45 years old brain, there is no difference. The only difference is how you use actually the brain. And
how interesting.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's not the case of what happens biologically. It's the case that we stop utilizing that part of the body, because by the time you're 65 or 55 or 45, you are so well adapted and rooted to the behavior and routine. you stop learning, you stop challenging yourself, you stop trusting, you have a very small group of people around you. And this actually can lead to really permanent damages to the brain, like dementia, for example.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So
So the consequences here are actually quite serious then. And it's, let's face it, also on the flip side, hope for us all that the 45-plus-year-old brain and the 25-year-old brain, in terms of those scans, kind of look the same there. But really valuable point about the learning and so forth. Just to bring other people, everybody else in as well there. What have you noticed in your own life, ladies, just as you've got older? So whether you were in your 20s and facing these challenges between the isolation and the social interaction and the intimacy and so forth, what have you learned as you've got older, and obviously appreciating that many of you aren't in that 40 and 50 bracket, it will still be a thing. How has your perspective on life changed? How have your priorities changed as you've progressed through life? Just any of you. Be interested to hear your thoughts and insights.
I can share on that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Really, I didn't share that I'm from Scottsdale, Arizona. Wow. I'm going to share my age. So I'm 68 years old.
No.
And I think my perspective has just been really to not care what anybody thinks about what I'm doing, because I'm so focused on living my purpose and fulfilling, what I'm here for, that even family, just not caring what other people think, having a real, and the other thing is, like she was talking about, Yana was talking about, when you're younger, like I didn't have any idea who I was when I was going to college and what to pick for college, but now I know who I am. I've had all this life experience. And so I think that's one of the best benefits of getting older, is the knowledge of who you are, and the knowledge of what it is that you want and what you want to do with your life. So that's my tidbit.
And what is your secret, Shelley? For goodness sake, I had no idea.
I've been into health for a really long time, and organic foods for probably 40 years, and taking care of my skin. And I think it's just the passion, connecting with the passion of, and I feel like I just keep looking younger and younger, actually, the more I tap into my passions.
Yeah. There's some kind of Benjamin Button thing going on with you. I don't know what it is, but there we go. Anybody else? What have you all
about? It's all about the style from within, Annabelle. She's cracked the code.
She has cracked the code. Yeah,
the code.
That's a thing. Actually, Shelley, tell us about that, because you're talking about style from within, and you are one of the most stylish people that I know.
Thank you.
And it's about that outward presentation, but as you've said, it's also about bringing in like what's in, expressing yourself in that way of like personal presentation and so on. So,
absolutely.
I mean, how can women, as we get older, obviously we're going to be making different choices, the fashion choices, style choices, than we might have made in our 20s. Let's say, well, one would hope so. Anyway, nobody wants to be mutton dressed as lamb, as they say.
No.
What kind of choices? What kind of choices can we be making? How can we express ourselves in this way and present ourselves in the best possible way?
Expression is really one of the key words, because you want to express yourself fully. So if you're not expressing yourself, you're automatically suppressing yourself. And so you want to keep that expression going. That's actually the key to life, in a way. So, but you had asked me like some of the do's and don'ts. And so I was thinking about that more, because and what I thought was, it's more the inner don'ts that I have for you, is the comparing yourself with other people, criticizing yourself, criticizing your body, the self-criticism, getting out the hammer, the love-hate relationship that we sometimes have with our body. Trying to dress like other people, trying to fit in with what other people are doing. This is really prevalent in social media. When have a business of our own, we look at other people and we think, oh, they're doing blah, blah, blah. And then we kind of put ourselves down in consequence to that. And I'm going to say a controversial one is like, don't follow the trends and the fashion of the day, but really be your own guide from the inside out. So what to do is more be yourself, you're unique, and you want to develop your own signature that's uniquely you, that
Yeah.
people will recognize you. And the whole key is like when you develop your personal style that's who you are and that's expressing where you're going and what you want in your life, then people like you'll leave that first impression and people will know you without you even saying a word.
Yes.
And so, along with the inner part of self, then you got to love and accept your body right now. This has been super challenging for me as my weight goes up and down, and if
Yes.
but if you're not liking your body, you have to get yourself to the place of loving your body, accepting your body, especially as we age. I mean, things are shifting. There's things we can't control as much as we want plastic surgery or do whatever we can do. In that regard, there's still things that won't change. But I feel like when you tap into who you are and your passion, I call that the fountain of youth, really. That passion within is your fountain of youth, knowing who you are and what you want and how you're going to make a difference. Also, the other tip, I guess, would be color, because as you age, your colors can change, and this is a good thing. You can actually wear new colors as you age. If you go white with your hair, you can pick up some new colors. Your skin tone's always going to have the same colors. But the colors you wore when you're younger probably will change as you get older, and you can embrace that because you get a whole new spectrum to work with.
Oh, right. So, brilliant.
Those are a few of my things, but I think the biggest thing I talk about is that you want to discover who you are, what you want, where you're going, and then you're going to, on a continuum, have to align with where you're going, that woman you're becoming in your business or what you want, and have them be congruent. And when you're congruent inside and out, that's when you align your energy. I don't know if we have any energy healers in here. When you align your energy, your vibration, and you're going to start magnetizing people to you, to your business like magic.
What a valuable point there, that it has to be congruent, and you're thinking also about where you're going and making sure that you're kind of dressing for the parts as well. And one of the things that's always interested me is that, sometimes when we watch these sort of documentaries on the TV and so forth, where somebody's getting a makeover, it's not just the wrapping on the parcel. It's not just that's just a bit of a shallow thing. You can see that when people are presenting themselves in a particular way and making mindful choices about those, they start to see themselves differently. They're looking in the mirror going, oh my goodness, there I am, not the scruffy individual I was before I stepped up to this. There's some really valuable points there. Just to very quickly say,
in the same note though, I used to style people on the outside, and what would happen was they would still have that same inner critic. They would still, be talking negative about their body and themselves. And so you've got to do both ends. You can't just get a makeover and just dress for the person you're becoming without doing the inner work. Yeah.
Very valid point. Very valid point. There's a book by Maxwell Maltz. I know you're familiar with this, Shelley. Maxwell Maltz, called Psycho-Cybernetics. Sounds like a very complicated title, but it talks about this, the outward presentation and the inner side as well, that might be of interest to people. Thank you for those who are watching and sending comments there. Hannah, great to see you, by the way, Hannah. Thanks for joining us. We're saying you do this for yourself, not what societal expectations for you are. And CJ Boyd, finding the tips useful there. So thank you so much for your comments there. Just to move things on a little bit now, Ola, I'm going to come to you, if I may, because whilst Jana has made this valid point that actually it's not that our brains are changing fundamentally in terms of those scans. It's what we do with it, the behaviors that we choose, and whether we choose to continue learning and growing, or whether we choose to stagnate and stay still. Not quite the same thing happening in the physical sense, I'm kind of thinking. So what are your thoughts on this?
No, not quite. Physically and physiologically, as we grow older, all of our organs, apart from the brain, think of it of like we become slower, they shrink, they produce smaller amounts of what they were supposed to be producing. So our muscles would shrink. So you'd reduce your muscle mass, you would reduce your bone mass, your metabolism will become less. So it was quite interesting for me to find out when I was looking into my own health journey as I am growing older. I've not crossed the 40 mark yet. But
yeah, rub it in, go on then.
But you do drop your metabolism by like 2% for every decade. And that's why it becomes more difficult for us to shift weight when we are growing older. Plus, together, the combination of the fact that we are not changing our diet as we are growing older, together with the fact that we're not moving that much as we are growing older, that was makes the weight accumulate even more and makes our metabolism go even slower. So in terms of that, like the metabolism, the bone, the skin becomes more fragile, becomes less elastic, it becomes less able to recover itself after injuries. Apart from the brain, actually, just as Jana has mentioned, the brain is the only organ that when we are born, when we are created, as we are growing, is the only organ that has a surplus of cells. So as we grow and age, even though there would be a reduction of brain cells, however, if we keep our mental activity, the brain still has enough to see us through to whatever age we are going to, because it's been created with more cells than it actually needs.
Wow.
And it has the capacity to generate new connections within the brain, within the neurons. So if you keep on using the brain, yes, definitely you won't witness the slowness, the forgetfulness, and the reduced activity. But other things in our body would be reducing, and that is what they need, and they need to be counteracted with us taking action in order to preserve them. So we need to be having more regular exercise. We need to be more conscious about what we eat. We need to be very conscious about our hydration. We need to be also conscious about supplementation and looking, are we getting enough sunlight? Are we getting enough vitamin D? Are we getting enough calcium in our bodies to help with our organs and support them as we grow older? Think of it, if you've got a car, you're going to put the right fuel in it. You're going to take it for regular checkups. You're going to check what's going on in the pipes if anything is clogged. And the same thing needs to happen with our bodies.
Yeah, absolutely. So it starts out as a bit of a depressing picture there. It's like your skin's not so elastic, your bone, when you think, oh my goodness, what can we do about it? And Hannah makes the point that oftentimes we find as we get older, maybe we move less. Now, I was never an exercise, and I was never a gym bunny. So, it may be that the habits that we've started in earlier life to think, right, okay, let's get out there and exercise and what have you, the habits and practices will stay with us and see us through into later life. But clearly from what you're saying there, Ola, there are choices that we perhaps need to be a bit more conscious about with regard to exercise, with regard to diet and hydration, and just be a bit more mindful about these things and what we're physically doing to ourselves, making choices today, food, exercise choices that are going to see us into the.
So really simple things that we can do. And this is something that I became more aware of as I have shifted my work into business, and then I'm working remotely. So I'm always sat down in front of a laptop and doing my work. But I came to realize that I need to put in some small changes into my routine. And those small changes have made a big difference. So for example, I don't have a regular desk. I have got a standing desk. And if you can't invest in a standing desk, then that's okay. Have a stack of books that get your laptop high enough for you to stand up while you're doing your work. Because again, we've got scientific research. If you're sat down for a period of 6 to 8 hours a day, your risk of heart disease, hypertension, diabetes goes exponentially higher than if you were actually spending time standing. And again, small shifts. So in the evening, I'm sat down now, but in the evening, what I'll do before I wrap up everything is I'll put my desk up. So the first thing in the morning when I come and start my work, I'm standing. And then I can sit down when I get tired, and then I stand up back again. Things like looking after our skin. I've become very religious about SPF 50 every day. Annabelle, whether I'm in, out, winter, come rain or shine, because it can even give you a degree of protection from the blue light that you get from your electronic devices.
Really? I mean, I was going to say I'm in Scotland, where an SPF factor that's particularly high is really not well, I'm saying flippantly, you know, the weather's not great. What can I tell you? But I had no idea. So it's actually the, you know, even now looking at our screens, we're absorbing stuff that the SPFs can protect us from.
Yeah, because it's about the UV light, and the UV light is actually what damages your skin and what will result in skin cancer as well. So you wear the SPF not to protect, for me, I don't really burn with my skin tone, but I wear the SPF predominantly to protect from the UV light, to protect from the damage, because the collagen will break in your skin and that will get damaged, and then you'll lose elasticity in your skin and you'll lose that youthful look, basically. And it can protect.
The horse might have already bolted on that for me, I have to say. But anyway,
you can still give whatever you've got left a boost.
Salvage something. But those are really those are really sort of valuable tips. One of the things, again, I just want to throw it out to the other ladies as well, and Julianne, just maybe ask you a question around. Well, yeah. I'll start with you, Julianne. Just with regard to your own kind of attitudes to health and so forth. Were you like, how's that changed over the years? And for the rest of you as well. I'm just aware of the fact that Heather and Julianne and Hannah are kind of patiently waiting for us to move on to the more finance and career and gathered wisdom aspects of the conversation. So to bring you in now at this point, how have your attitudes and approaches to your health shifted over time?
Well, so we'll start and say I am in that age range that we're talking about today. And, you know, I think in the end, a lot of it is your mental attitude. Even though I'm definitely in my 50s and I feel the difference in some ways, I actually feel better than I ever have. You do have to make sure that you're watching your diet and getting hydrated. But I saw a comment about vino, and I do like my vino. So it's all about thinking about things in moderation. Yeah. And also really thinking about what can you do with your body that gives you the right amount of movement. But like for me, I used to run half marathons. I've decided now that that's not something I'm going to do anymore. It's just too hard on my body. So I have chosen other more low impact types of exercise so that my body is not continuously sore. And I also don't continue to wear out my joints and whatnot. So then as I get older, I'm able to enjoy my life longer in an active way. So I think I've made some adjustments on that. But really, I think I still want every day to be just as fun as it was when I was 22. And I am not going to let my age and whatever the number is decide that, you know, I can't have a good time, because sometimes I think because we get old, we can't have fun. And I refuse to adopt that as my motto. And I think that is how you stay young. Yeah, no, a really valid point. So it is all about mindset so much, isn't it? So much of this conversation is around our thinking about things. And it's, I guess, one of those things is, I don't know about you ladies, but, you know, when I was in my 20s, I didn't give my health too much thought. I kind of ate what I wanted, and I, you know, occasionally got a bit of exercise. You know, I walked instead of taking the bus or into university campus or something. But actually things change, and the stuff that I was able to do in my 20s and 30s, now I'll try, like running, same as you. I used to run, and now I'm thinking, oh, my knees. And you start to think, you're doing something, you think, oh, you're getting a little bit of a twinge in your back or something. And so it's that thing of a bit, in fact, I remember this, and this was some years ago, even when I was probably in my late 30s, early 40s, and my daughter was sort of playing about in the garden. And like an idiot, I tried to turn a cartwheel, because I used to be quite good at that. And I collapsed in a heap on the floor, thinking, oh my goodness, call an ambulance, because it's one of those things. But it is a question of, you know, just being mindful of what our bodies are capable of doing, but still making sure that we are doing the requisite exercises and so forth. I've recently started working with a PT who's putting me through my paces, and I'm aching in places where I didn't even know I had places. But in the interests of maintaining some levels of fitness and heart fitness and bone fitness and so on, it's like looking to the future now. This is what I'm
is kind of where it needs to be going. Now, I'm just mindful of time, and I want to move the conversation on a little bit, if I may, to look at again, sort of stick with the mindset a little bit. Julianne, I'm going to come back to you in a moment, because obviously enough, obviously enough, those of us who have been on the planet for longer would ideally have gathered some knowledge along the way. We've learned from mistakes. We've gathered wisdom. And Julianne, in your introduction, you spoke about resilience and building resilience. And so on. So again, this is something that as we age, this is something that we can leverage as an opportunity. This is a chance to share that with people who haven't been on the planet for quite so long, potentially. So tell us around that, about how can we leverage the wisdom, the life experience we've gained, and build resilience moving forward.
Well, I think what Dr. Shelley Nash mentioned was really important, and, really talking about that inner strength and that inner beauty, and how do we develop that? So for me, I sort of started my life a little bit rough. I was born with a heart defect and had to have surgery to have a normal lifespan, or I would not be here today. And then I also encountered, some really rough situations in terms of losing my husband to suicide when I was young. And so in what I have found over time, number one, is that we can get through all things. It's the mindset to remember that we can get through all things. Now, that's not a guarantee that it's going to be easy or simple, but we can make the choice to take a new step every day. And what we have to do is just to be brave enough to get through, a moment, a minute, an hour, a day, a week, and not look too far in the future, but just to know that as long as we can make it through right now, that the next moment comes, because everything always changes. And when you're young, I don't think you understand that what is happening today does not last forever. It always gets different.
Yeah, that's true. What about anybody else? I mean, again, Heather, I'm going to come to you now. Again, we're going to be focusing on finance a little bit in a few minutes' time. But again, just in the interest of clarity and for the avoidance of doubt, Heather is not in the bracket that we're talking about here. But even so, as somebody who's not approaching that, who's not in that bracket, but still is impacted by these things around building resilience and so forth. What's your kind of take as a younger person here? I'm sounding like really old and decrepit here, but you know where I'm going. What's your take on this as you're sort of starting to build resilience? Because we've all had life lessons and so forth, and wisdom absolutely is not the preserve of people who have been on the planet for longer, because heaven knows there are many very, very capable and talented younger women, younger people who have an old head on young shoulders, shall we say, and lots of people who have been around for a long time and appear to have learnt nothing. So it can go either way. What's your take on this in terms of leveraging life experience as you move forward?
Well, I don't think I'm as young as you think I am.
Oh, really? Well, what's your secret? You and Shelley, we all need to be taking notes from you.
So I'm 45. So
are you?
Yes. I'm old. She is.
Really?
Me and Hannah are very close in age. That's why she's laughing in the background where you're calling me a young person. Yep. But thank you, Annabelle, for calling me.
I'm putting my foot in it here, aren't I? One way or the other. Yeah.
I mean, it might confuse you because I do have very young children. I didn't have children until later in life. I enjoyed my 20s fully and part of my 30s. And I don't regret a minute of it, because now I can not settle, but I can enjoy being mom, right? And I can enjoy being a business owner. And those weren't things I did in my younger years. I was an employee. I was in the employee mindset. And there's nothing wrong with that. I built a lot of things. I had a lot of, I feel like I've lived several lives. My husband and I often say this. I feel like I've lived several lives. So, I originally, my background's in psychology like Yana. So that was what I studied. That's what I did. I worked for the government. I can't tell you what I did because that's secret, but
You'd have to kill us if you did.
no. I worked in forensics. My actual degree is forensic psychology. So,
Wow.
and my husband had a limo business and he flew for Delta, and we had a huge life change when he got hit with pancreatic cancer and our whole life shut down. So everything had to come to a stop. That lovely Christmas, we got told he had 3 months or less to live without a surgery that could possibly kill him. So we had literally 2 weeks to plan for him to possibly die and rearrange everything as I sat there with an 8-month-old in my hand. So it literally will hit you sometimes, and just like Julianne's experience, you have to, it's not so much about wallowing in what's happened. It's about how are you going to stand up and move on and move forward, and that you can still have a life that you want or might even be better past these really hard things that we have to walk through at times, right? And so that's really what led me to the path I am on now is, we value every single day. And I think sometimes you don't understand that until you walk through something very difficult. So just like Hannah's walking through health problems over the past several years, just like Julianne's walked through major life, just like many of the other women on this panel may have walked for something very difficult. It's when you walk through those difficult moments that you all of a sudden reevaluate your life and what's really truly important. And so that's why I moved into what I do, helping people prepare to be financially stable and solid so that they can focus on what's important, whether that be in life, business, or family, and really remembering to slow down, because at the bottom of the day, the week, the month, whatever, what's truly important is what is directly around you. It is your family. It is your health. And sometimes we have to step back and say, okay, is this really what's good for me? Is this really what's good for my family? Is this really what's good for myself? And listening to that inner self, I think, is really important. And really what I think, to me, what really defines us is our perseverance, right? Our ability to move past where we're at and recognize. I tell people all the time, celebrate those little wins. Stop beating yourself up if you feel like, like Dr. Shelley was saying, if you feel like, oh, I don't look perfect. So I don't this, if they're not dealing with that inner peace, right? And that inner side, the outside's never going to look right. We were just talking about this on our launch, right? For Women Disruptors, we were saying you have to have inner peace and finding that peace inside of you that says, I am okay. I am enough. What I'm doing is good. And moving forward past all of that and being that example for others, because people are watching, especially your children, your grandchildren, they are watching what you're doing. And so you need to be that example for them that you want them to see, right?
Yes. Yeah. What a powerful point, because it's and just to sort of draw on a couple of points that you've said there, that last point is that we are leaving a legacy. We are influencing people. We are role models, good, bad, or indifferent, by what we're actually doing. So what is the legacy that we're leaving? Also, I just wanted to pick up on that point that you made about, slow down, focus on what's important here. It's one of those things, isn't it? Health is wealth. If you don't have your health, then the rest of it is just is pretty irrelevant, really. So that does have to be the bedrock. That does have to be the bedrock. I feel having sort of flattered you there, Heather, and mistaken you for somebody who's far younger than you actually are. And thanks for fessing up there and saying, I have to say that Jana and I were out at the weekend, and we just popped out for a drink or so in the town. And I looked around. It's not a place I usually go to. And I said to Jana, I think I'm the oldest person in here. And Jana said, yes, I think you are. And I was going, no, wrong answer, Jana, wrong answer. And then my son and his friends came in. So okay, I think it's time to go home now. But anyway, let's moving on. So whilst health is that's it is about focusing on what's really important, and maybe as we get older this is something that we're better able to do. There's also the factors of the opportunities that are open to us in terms of work, in terms of employment, in terms of entrepreneurship, in terms of leveraging our experience, leveraging our personal style and our expression in terms of entrepreneurship and business, and so on. So Hannah, what's your perspective on this, on the opportunities that women 40s, 50s, maybe even further ahead, can capitalize on when it comes to the working environment, however they've chosen to contextualize that?
Well, I think, it's like the saying goes, the older we get, the wiser we are.
Mm-hmm.
We get finer with time, I think that it's unfortunate that so many of us focus on our age versus what is really the main focus. It's our health.
Yeah.
It's our health. I'm all about embracing who I am right where I am. I'm not going to try to keep up with Ashley Graham and want to look like her. I want to look like Hannah. So I want to accept who I am and wear my own shoes instead of trying to fit in someone else's. And I think that has to go into the work-life balance or the work-life health balance, So I do believe what some of the ladies shared in the sense of, yes, we have to work harder to take care of ourselves mentally and physically. If we're not healthy, our wealth is no good, unless you're going to be buried with your money and then somebody dig it up later. So it really is, full circle in the sense of, I love my age. I'm 48 and I have grandkids. I have 5 children. I'm married. I live a beautiful life. And the Hannah now wouldn't have appreciated those things at a younger age. I feel like as time goes by, we learn so much more. We gain more and more knowledge. We gain more understanding. We gain patience, and those are gifts that we're not always ready to hone in on in our younger years. In our younger years, we're focusing about the fast pace of this, of that. So I would say in business, knowledge is key. And because I've lived longer than some of the other women who are coming into that arena, I want to help them and give them the knowledge that I've learned. And I want them to teach me the new stuff and have the patience to do so because I am older. So I might not get it as quick as someone else would. But honestly, at the end of the day, age is a number. It's what we think. It's what we feel. It's how we perceive ourselves or others. And, that shouldn't be a factor. We should not be judged on our age when it comes to work, when it comes to things in life, because we all are born and we all die. So we're all going to get older, right? The difference is the how and the when. So I think instead of focusing on, changing some of these stigmas that are happening, focus on damn, I made it another year. I'm still here. You're here your day to focus on the good things that the good Lord has blessed you to do. Focus on that. Put your self-care in that. Make that recipe. And for me, I want to travel. I want to spend the rest of my life traveling. So in order to do that, I have to be in good health, mentally, physically, and emotionally. I want to go visit Yana. I want to go visit you. I want to go to Bali.
Come on over.
There's so many places and so many people that I want to see, right? I want to experience different cultures. I want to meet women from everywhere. So how can I do that? By taking care of myself, understanding my hormones have changed. I am a Looney Tune sometimes around the house. My husband, he just has to deal with it. It's life, right? But we can't shame ourselves for it. It's maybe one butt cheek's higher than the other. Gravity takes over. It's realistic. So let's be real. It's kind of like what we talked about in the launch. Be real with ourselves.
Yeah.
Be real with others.
Yeah.
And the things we can control in terms of our health, our mental health, our emotional, then let's do that, do the work. And
Yeah.
everything else follows. So, you know, love who you are, love what you do, live the life you love the
Yeah.
life you live.
Yeah.
It's, you know, we don't have to complicate it. There's like this information overload. Like when I
True
was
enough.
for a product, just a simple thing to keep my hair from falling out, I could never figure out what to use because there was too much information. It's too confusing. Why are we confusing ourselves? Why are people adding on things that just don't need to be added on? So if I'm being honest, I guess one thing I'd want to know is, okay, what does a woman use in her late 40s for under eye cream? You know, that isn't going to make her skin turn yellow. Or, you know, what should we be eating more? Should I consume more iron because I'm older and I'm burning it? Should I consume more vitamin D because I'm older and I'm burning it? What do I do to replace some of the hormones that are, you know, emptying out in the tank? Like those are real things. Those are the questions I want to know the answer to. And I can't find one answer because we're on information overload. So maybe we could change some of that. You know?
Maybe we can. And it's like, well, Ola, you may well have some answers to that. But again, I'm mindful of time now, and I sort of want to sort of just to sort of keep moving forward and make sure that we get some finance tips from Heather as well. But I really like what you say there, Hannah, about, you know, focus on what you've got, focus on what you have, rather than worrying that you're not looking like a skinny mini, like somebody in their 20s or whatever. And it's like within certainly what I found in my own experience is that life experience is massively valuable in a business context. It's not just about the technical skills of being able to do this or able to do that. It's thinking, right, okay, I understand people a little bit better because I've because I've been around a bit longer, but leveraging the wisdom and the experience we have within that particular context. Now, Hannah has just asked the question, do you think this is an issue for men as well as women, this idea of being ourselves and aging well? Yes, probably. I think my guess would be that men kind of think about these things in a slightly different way. Societal pressures on men getting older are possibly not the same. You know, a woman is like, oh, you're getting a bit past it if she's got grey hair. A man is a silver fox. There's a double standard right there. So it will be different, and our focus is very much on women because it's the, you know, the She Rises network and so forth. But I think it's a very valid point that men face a number of challenges as well as we get older. Now, Julianne, you had made a comment just a moment ago, so I wanted to just jump back to that. As you've got older, it's not the material stuff. It's not the Ferrari. It's not the fancy car. It's not the yacht.
Yeah, I mean, not that I wouldn't mind having a yacht, I suppose, but you know, you learn contentment about where you are, and Hannah said that too, and you really do see where joy comes to you, and it's fun to have stuff, but you know, comparison is the thief of joy, and
you're right.
when we get caught up in what other people have, well, someone's always going to have a bigger house or a nicer car or a prettier sweater or whatever. The things that I have found bring me joy are those small moments with my children, with my mom, with my dad when he was here, you know, with my siblings and my nieces and nephews and my friends. And those are the memories that are really what propel me to be a better person, because I want more of that.
Yeah.
You know, I just want more of that. I want more love. I want more fun. I want more joy. And so when you stop looking at material items and you really think about where your joy comes from, and again, they're all fun. I'm not saying that. And I always tell my children, you know, money, it's a neutral thing. but when you don't have it, it's not easy. So, and I've been in all places on that spectrum. So in the end, my point is, and I'll close on it, is, the best thing we can do is figure out what brings us joy. And then also take that and don't compare that to what we think brings other people joy, and just rest in what is for us.
Yeah. Very valid point. Valid point. Now, I want to just kind of be brutally practical here, because again, it's like the focus has very much been on being content and having what we need and having what fulfills us. And yet, in some respects, is we might not want the yacht or the Ferrari. That might not be a priority, but we kind of need to have a mode of transport, a roof over our heads, and so forth. So actually managing our finances and making sure that not just now, but for the future, we are equipped to look after ourselves as we age and are less able to work or don't even want to work or whatever. Heather, what would your top tips be for women in their 40s and 50s to be starting to think and plan now for ensuring financial stability in the future?
There's lots of things that you can do. There's several different vehicles and ways that you can grow your money. But, if you're a woman over 40, you're probably already doing a lot of things. You might be raising children. You might be taking care of your home. You might be taking care of your aging parents. You're doing a whole bunch of things. And because we are so busy in our midlife, right, of taking care of ourselves, taking care of others, and all these different things that we're doing, building our career or building our business, a lot of times our financial affairs take a back seat. And so what I've written about many times, what I talk to clients all the time, is understanding to really be proactive about your finances. And there's some really basic money principles that in your 40s or really any age in life you can use, but you definitely need to take a look at in your midlife, let's just say. So one of the biggest things is making sure you have an emergency fund. And this is not something that a lot of us think about at all. We're too busy making money, trying to save money, trying to invest money, but there's that other little component, and it's called an emergency fund. And the standard rule of thumb for an emergency fund is to have 3 to 6 months of expenses set aside in case something comes up. And the reason this is so important is because we may be working so hard to make sure that all the bills are paid and we're saving for retirement. But if something comes in and sideswipes you, like a health problem or a pandemic or something out of your control, if you don't have this emergency fund, all that stuff you've been building is going to fall. And it's going to fall because now you don't have the funds to put towards the goals you were working towards. And then what's going to happen is you're going to fall into this depression. You're going to feel overloaded. And you're going to feel like you can't do it. So really working towards having those 3 to 6 months, which might seem overwhelming, but I tell people to bite it in little chunks, save an extra 50, save an extra 100, save an extra 200, look at your budget, understand how much more you could save, cut out going out to dinner a couple times and put it into that emergency fund until it's built up. So that if you do have a car that breaks down, or something happened and a pipe burst in your house, or a medical healthcare problem occurs, you're not tapping back into that debt in the credit cards, putting yourself back in debt. You're not tapping into, your retirement plan to pay and cover it, right?
Yeah.
So that's one big thing that sometimes we forget about that really is important, especially when you're building that retirement. Another one is that you need to know that you are working towards or out of debt and fully understand what your debt means, okay? And how you can reduce those risks and get into a positive way. And as you reduce that debt, understanding that you can then turn around and use the money you were used to paying and putting that into your retirement. Example is, say you have a high credit card or you have a home loan, right? There's less on your home loan. Instead of going out and refinancing your house and building onto that debt, Why not pay more into your house? Why not pay more off on that high interest credit card? And guess what? You're used to paying that bill. When that bill is no longer there, that money you were used to paying in your budget for, you can now reallocate it to that retirement plan. And that is going to be a big game changer. So really looking at and understanding your budget and getting creative with it. So I tell people a lot of times, keep a log for like 3 weeks, because a month seems like too much time for someone to do anything. So we say, keep a log for 3 weeks. I want you to write down every single thing you're spending money on, right? And I mean spending money outside of your bills, right? You can put your bills in one lane, but you're spending money. Where are you spending it? And it's kind of like when the doctor tells you, oh, you're having stomach problems. Can you make a diary of what you're eating so I can look at it? And then you feel guilty when you're writing down that you had French fries. Well, you're going to feel guilty that you wrote down that you spent money on the French fries too. But I'm not trying to guilt you into changing. What I'm trying to do is help you understand that we have a lot of money within our own budgets that we're not putting to the correct things. So again, when you fully understand that spending, you fully understand that budget, you can do the same thing by saying, okay, well, if I cut out a couple times doing this or that, I would be able to put that towards investing. And when you put it towards investing, guess what? You're helping your pocket and you're helping your family's future and you're helping your retirement, because people fully don't understand their FIN, which is your financial independence number. And what does it mean to have a financial independence number? That means that you know exactly what it takes to retire. Because to truly retire, especially for us women who like to live longer, means having 20 to 30 years worth of your expenses. In other words, you can pay all of your expenses, which might be different because your house might be paid off by then, right? I can pay all of my expenses for the next 20 to 30 years without having to go into further debt or borrow money that then my family is going to have to pay off when I pass. Right. So really understanding what that is. So I always say, sit down with a financial advisor that you can trust and have an open conversation. Yes. And I'm happy to do it no matter where you live. I can do an assessment and let you know what's your financial independence number, what is your debt ratio, where can you build more money. The idea is we want to grow our income. We all want to make money while we're sleeping. And some of that seems unattainable. It's really not when you take a hard look at it and have some hard conversations. And really put your mind to doing it. And that's going to give you some inner peace too. I tell you, once I knew exactly how I could go down a financial path and I knew I had a plan, I slept better. And I get that from a lot of my clients. And Lord knows at all of our ages, we do need sleep, even if you're like me and you're not getting it. But we do need it. So and some of us might feel like we don't have a lot of years left of service. So we need to find creative ways to grow that income. And some of it might be by really attacking some things that we've been procrastinating on, like our debt and like our bills, and really saving in a more creative way. You know, so some of you may have retirement plans and some of us may not have. Some of us are just starting now that the kids are at school, now that we can start and build a business. So we have to get very creative when we're starting out in our late 30s, our 40s, or our 50s to really make the most out of that. It is definitely doable, but it takes more finesse and more focus.
Yeah, thanks for that, Heather. And clearly it's about developing strong financial habits, but also grasp the nettle, make sure you know exactly where your starting point now is and what's actually going on with you financially. Thank you so much for that. Ladies, our time is up and we're going to have to wrap up now and draw to a close. My thanks to you all for taking part and sharing your insights and your experience with us here. Anybody who's watching, if you would like to connect with anybody here on the panel, you will find us at the She Rises Studio Facebook page. We are all there in the She Rises community. You'll be able to do join. It's a fantastic network, very supportive network to be part of. We're all there, so do connect with us at She Rises Studios in the Facebook group. Meanwhile, once again, ladies, my thanks to you all. My thanks to Ron Billings and Sarah Salting for being the production team behind this event. My thanks to you all watching who have joined us, and thank you for your comments. Have a good rest of day. Have a good rest of day. And age.
Bye, everyone.
Bye for now.
Age well.
Bye.